Don't move. Turn your fantasy football into reality. Here's CJ.
Hey everybody, welcome back. It's the NFL preseason in full swing and we're just so excited about that. I'm CJ and this is the Dirty Landry Experience. Now, are we really excited? Well, we were, but it's kind of like binge watching on Netflix. At some point you push pause and go on and do something else for a while and then maybe go back and watch the recorded versions of the games because at this point, it's more like watching practices and controlled scrimmages and college all-star games than it is actually watching the NFL. But it's still entertaining and there's still stuff to learn. It's just not as exciting and the enthusiasm level is waning a little bit at this point. I can hardly wait for weeks 3 and 4 at least. You know, as a coach once told me, the first couple of weeks of the preseason are more for just weeding out the players a little bit at the bottom end and seeing which guys might be good for practice roster. See how they come out during a game if they have a level of enthusiasm that they can work with. And so the weeks 1 and 2 are just to get that roster from 90 down to 70 and 60 and so forth and confirm that the players are who they are. Like some guys are just not good practice players and some are fantastic during games. Kind of like Allen Iverson. We won't go there, right? But there are some guys that I've noticed so far. And I'm just 2 of them that I think could be worthy. They looked good. But again, you have to qualify who they're playing against, right? That Wilson kid, the running back in Green Bay, scampered for 80 yards. No one could catch him. I kind of like that guy. He actually, there was more to him than just that one play, but he deserved that because he worked at it. And that's what I liked about him is he just kept working and working and working, you know? So guys like that, I would like to hold them on dynasty teams on the taxi squad, bottom end of the roster kind of thing, just to see how they do. And that Cunningham, the quarterback for New England, boy, was he exciting. He's probably more suited for the Canadian Football League, and he was a 3rd-round draft in the USFL. But if he makes the NFL and actually plays, there's a level of excitement there. I don't know how long he'll last and all that kind of thing, but for the preseason, it made me sort of sit up and go, whoa, look at that guy. And that's kind of what I'm looking for in the preseason is that, woo, look at this guy. So, but anyway, that's for fantasy purposes, right? It's currently redraft season and it's keeper season and you're looking for veterans mostly, but there's some dynasty leagues out there. And the dynasty owner, their rosters have been in full swing since May and June when they have their rookie drafts. Typically, those are a lot sooner than redraft and such, and they're separate drafts, 5 rounds. So doing that means that now you're adjusting your roster because a lot of these leagues will expand the roster for the off season, meaning that just like the pros, you have to cut your roster down to conform for the regular season. So that's what the one of the intrigues and the part that the attractions of dynasty leagues are is that at some point you get to, it's almost like owning your own NFL team. You keep the players, you keep your mistakes. So if you're bad one year, you're likely to be bad the next, unless, you know, whatever. So sleeper picks and roster guys, the older guys tend to get cut out of dynasty teams. So there's an influx of waiver guys. They go into the common waiver pool. And sometimes these cut downs are a little harder to do than it sounds. And I had one owner who has to become very creative because he does have a good team and he doesn't know quite what to do with Jarvis Landry. Now, it isn't just Jarvis Landry. Every owner has their guy. What do you do with Chosen Anderson? What do you do with Will Fuller and guys like that? Do you keep them or cut them? Well, the easy thing for me to say is you keep them if you have space. If you don't have space, then do what you can. I mean, you don't want to just cut a guy, but Jarvis Landry is an example. He's 30 years old. He's a free agent. His first 6 years in the league was great. 80 catches a year, never missed a game. But his last 3 years, 15 games played, 12, 9, and now he's a free agent. So you see, and his average catches per game have dropped from 6, 7, 8 range down to 2 and 3. So it could mean that with the injuries, he's slowed down a bit, easier to cover, and he's not getting open. Could be poor quarterback play. But what happens if he gets picked up by Kansas City or Buffalo? You see, so you don't really want to drop him, but if you have to, you don't have the space, then probably not a bad thing to do it. But before you do that, what do? Well, what I would do is I would send out an unsolicited offer to every other team in the league asking for a draft pick of some sort. Next year, year after, doesn't matter, and see if I get any responses at all. If someone takes it, great. But someone might contact you and say, yeah, I don't know if I want to give up a draft pick for them. And then they'll start negotiating a little bit with them. So maybe you could ask for some FAAB money. Now, to me, the FAAB money is the free agent bidding money, the fictitious money that you're given at the start of the year. So you could sell him for some FAAB and use that FAAB to buy a player later on. So it's almost like trading a player for future considerations or a player to be named later. And that happens. And it's a legitimate trade. It is a real trade. Cut them as a last resort, but only if you need the roster space, because older players, they can help you late in the season if you're in championship mode. Now, FAAB money. Why do you trade for FAAB money? The general rule with FAAB is 10 players. Well, you'll get 10 players out of your FAAB. So if you have $200 in FAAB money, that's $20 a player, that's 10 players. So I try to grab a little extra FAAB as throw-ins on deals. So if someone makes me an offer, you make me an offer, and I'm okay with it, I'll come back to you and say, hey, I'll do that. Just throw in $20 worth of FAAB. And I can get another player later on, but it also gives me a little bit of an advantage over you as well. I try to get it as a throw-in on the deals because maybe it helps me get an important player later in the season. Now, how do you use FAAB when you have it? Well, I was told by one of my mentors that be smart, be careful, budget your money, think ahead. Well, that's all true. Keep track of what the other owners typically pay for players or bid for players. If you know a guy always bids 7, bid 9. Keep track of how much they have left. If one team has 160 and there's a player you desperately want to have and you have 180, you know you're going to get it for 161. Just do that. Don't bid $17. That's just silly. And if you really want the player, spend it. Sometimes it's worth it. Now, don't bid in even amounts. Okay? Never bid zero. A list, most of the time anyway. $1, $3, $7, $11, $13, odd numbers, not even, right? Don't bid $100. Bid 103 or 107. If a player's worth 100, he's worth 107. You don't want to be disappointed because you missed out. Because there's still priority bidding, depending on how active you are. And it says right in the standings where you're at. So if I'm at number 8 and you're at number 10 and we both bid $10, I get the player, you don't. So bid 11. See, just bid a little extra when you really want the player. But try not to spend it all early. First day of bidding, first week, is always the most expensive. But there's always players we missed. So there's some good opportunities there. And later in the season, the problem is that if you have an injury or something goes wrong and you need that guy off waivers like Brock Purdy last year, you need some FAAB money to be able to get this guy. So save it. Don't spread it around a little bit, but be careful with it. So budget and be smart. Is the guy on waivers really a better player than the one you spent all those weeks and hours and hours and hours looking at? Okay, a few minutes here and there. Be smart, be careful, and make sure that the guy you're bidding on is a guy you really need to have. So, if you have any questions about Jarvis Landry, other players like that, there's the email address. Please send. Also, you can like and subscribe. There's the comment section. It's always open. I respond to every comment that I get if I see it, and I'm just getting new at this, so I'm old and I don't see right. So if I miss your comment and it's important, please send an email, and I'll answer that for sure. Anyway, thank you again for showing up and taking a look at the show. I'll see you again next time on the Dirty Landry Report. I'm CJ. Have yourself a fantastic day.